Hey, Break Chains family. I know it has been a minute. If you saw my post, if you follow me on Facebook, you know that I had COVID and I was trying to recover from that. A lot of other life changes happen as well, but this ain't the Bible study to go into that. The Holy Spirit is just telling me to hold off on that before I speak on it. But all I can say to anyone, just real quick, is that if God says something is going to be done, it's going to be done. And it may take years for it to manifest. People may make fun of you. You may do things that seem crazy to other people, but I'm here to let you know that God is not a man that he should lie. Things happen on his time and not humans' time, and he has to wait for us to grow and mature and to handle things correctly. So, with that being said, I just want to encourage everyone to just stay with the Lord, just to stay the path. It's okay if you swerve off of it. The most important thing is to get back on it. I don't know how many times I failed. I don't know how many times I got angry with God. I don't know how many times I, you know, turned my back on God, but he still blesses me. He still keeps me. And I think that I will say for myself, I don't spend enough time just thanking him for who he is. Most of the time, it's I want this, God. You can tell me I'm gonna get this. I'm like a spoiled brat, but I really just want to take the time to thank God for the trials. Thank God for um, putting me in the fire, and just seeing something in me that other people did not see. Um, and I just can't say it enough. We serve a very amazing, awesome, loving God. But before we get into this, I am going to start with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us all here. Lord, I pray that anyone who is watching this video, that you speak to them. And Lord, most importantly, speak through me, Lord. I don't want to lead anyone astray. I don't want any word that comes out of my mouth to be flesh or self driven, but it's all about giving you glory and giving you praise, Lord. I pray that, Lord, whoever watches this video, that they are blessed and that they are forever changed. In Jesus' name I pray. So, um, I know y'all not used to seeing me. But I've got to follow the Lord. He said my face need to be seen. I'm like, are you really wanna? I'm a very shy, bashful person. I'm an introvert to the core. So all I'm saying is, if you see my face, this was divine intervention. But anyway, as you can see on the title, it says I have a testimony. So as we're heading at the final end of this Bible study, it's time to come clean. I want to let you know that I have been going through the journey with you, and when I tell you God is cleaning, He cleaning, He cleaning. Um, and I have been forever changed for this from this Bible study. I pray that any of you who watch the other videos and who watch this, if you're just watching this one, please go see the other ones. They're very, very important. It builds up to this, but yeah. Um, when I initially did this Bible study, um, which is funny, I did this a year ago in a hotel room, like wrote it, and I I was like, okay, I'm gonna be honest. When I wrote it, I knew it was gonna be something else, and I'm like, Lord, I don't know about this one. I'm scared. And then even doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, God, what are you doing? Anyway, saying all that to say this, at the beginning of it, I started coming clean, meaning telling parts of my testimony that I have never shared publicly. Um, some things never even personally, not to anyone in my personal life. And um, now I'm picking up where I left off, which was year 2010. Um, and I am going to be looking down at a notepad because I don't want to go astray. You feel me? Because I'm good for that. I have a problem with wanting to overload people with information, and Jesus had to, baby, you need to get to the point. And I'm kind of doing it now. I'm kind of babbling now because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm gonna keep it real. That's the only way I know how to be. That's how I was raised by both of my parents, is to keep it 100. I don't want to do this. The last part is Bible study. I'm not Bible study. Last part is just testimony. I don't have a problem with. But this first one is very personal. It was so hurtful. It's so, I don't know the word for it, but it's very personal to me, and it was such a excruciating experience. Me having to go through this testimony, to tell this part of my story. I have to say I was very angry with God, because I was like, listen, I've been talking about this for I don't know how many years. I'm done with this. I don't want to speak on it. Um, Honestly, y'all, I was going to pull a Mariah Carey. If anyone brought this person up to me, I was going to be like, I don't know who that is. I don't know who you're talking about. I have no idea. That's what I was going to do. But God had other plans. So I'm saying all this to say, I don't want to talk about what I'm getting ready to talk about at all. This is not me trying to seek retaliation. No, I don't. I'm gonna say it again. I really don't want to talk about it. It's probably why this has been, not probably, it is why it has been dragged out as long as it has been. And I see why God wanted me to talk about it, because through talking about it, I actually got healed. I was healed. God's like, our relationship has not been the same since you went through that. And he's like, you still mad at me for putting you through it. And I didn't think so, but I find myself doing the same thing over and over. I asked God, even today, what is going on? What happened? I mean, because I was very on fire for the Lord. I didn't listen to any secular music. I watched very carefully what I watched. Um, I really was surrendered to God, um, and I have to be honest, during this time period, which I'm going to talk about, um, was, like I said, a very, very excruciating, painful experience for me. But without further ado, I'm going to get into it. So we left off at 2010. So 2010, let's backtrack a little bit. 2009, I did end up losing my job. I did graduate from college, but I could not find a job in my field, not a job in my field, a job in the field that I graduated from, which was pharmacy technician. And I was very lost, because at this point I was very materialistic. I was all about that money. I was all about, I was very driven also. I just wanted to succeed financially. I had a relationship with God, but I valued materialism and making money more than I valued my relationship with God. So even though during the time when I was jobless, I thank God for it that season now, because if he wouldn't allow me to be jobless, I probably wouldn't be who I am today. And then I got arrested for battery. Which, that's not a story I'm not going to go into, but that what you would imagine, if anyone was around who's old enough to know how the job market was in 2010, and 11 and 12, 13, 14, so forth, is that it was very difficult to find a job, and me having that, arrest for battery definitely did not help things. It made it worse. So during this time, God cleansed. He did one of many cleansings that he did in my life. He cleansed me. So my phone got turned off, and basically, I had no connections with any of the friends that friends that I had at that time. I didn't even call them friends at the time. They were associates. I'm not liberal with the word friend. It's a while it takes you got to go through some things for me to call you a friend. But anyway, at this time I had associates who were smoking and drinking, and he said, you don't need to give anybody your new number from that old phone. There's no contacts you need to keep. And I'm like, okay. So you going out have me out here just having no friends, which that's what happened. I end up just spending time with my nieces and nephew, just focusing on them and focusing on my relationship with God. I was like, well, you know what, God, since I don't have any people my age, I want to who I know that's trying to do the right thing, that love the Lord. Let me go to a 7-day Adventist church. I heard about this church. It's a college church. I won't say the name because I'm not trying to be messy. I'm really not. So I'm not gonna say the name, but it's a church that's really more so dedicated to college students. It's it started at the university of where I live, and then they end up getting their own campus. So I'm like, yeah, I should go there. I think it'll be good for me to have friends who are 7-day Adventists, who are my age and want to be a Lord. So I'm like, I'm gonna go visit. I'm gonna go visit. So here's the part of the story. Here's the part of my testimony. I really just don't. I do not want to talk about this individual. I'm so over it. I'm really over it. But whatever. Y'all, I'm struggling. Y'all pray for me. I know y'all watching this after the fact, but even just pray for me. Even just keep me in prayer. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go visit. So I went to go visit the church. I finally went, and the pastor at the time was leaving, and that's what they were had. I guess they were going through, and I think they had people. They were also talking about people who graduated, and then there was also an anointing service. So there was a lot going on that Sabbath, the first Sabbath that I visited. So I remember, because I was just so on fire for the Lord. I was just so happy to be there. I was, and I was just ready for the opportunity that God had. I knew God was doing something great in my life. So when they asked me if you have any visitors, I just shot up. I went. Anyone who watches this know I'm just overly enthusiastic. Some people take it the wrong way, especially guys. They think like I'm so in love with them, like I so want them. It's like, no, I'm just super enthusiastic in general. But okay. Anyway, so I just shut up, and I remember the pastor was like, oh, like, I feel like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, I'll give my little introduction or whatever. So anyway, they had an anointing service for deacons and elders. I'm gonna keep it real. I was young, I was in church, you feel me? I was like, yeah, I was looking at, I was getting, anointed. And I saw, their respective partners. So I respected that. I'm like, oh no, see y'all got, y'all got your spouses. I ain't doing that. I'm not intervening in that. And then I saw one fellow. I'm not gonna sit here. I give props when props are due. He was fine. And I was like, dang, he too fine to be standing there up there alone, like the Drake song. I'm really aging myself. Anyway, that's what I thought. I'm telling you, I'm giving you like real. I'm not cleaning it up. I'm giving it to you bloody raw. That's what I was thinking in my head. He too fine to be standing up there alone. That's what I was thinking. So I was like, oh man, I hope I'm not being disrespectful. I'm like, Lord, oh geez. And then he came up like off the pulpit. He came up to me. He's like, oh, what, you're not gonna say anything to me? And I was like, oh, I don't know what to say. Oh, and I was just like taken back by this. Now, what I'm about to say, it's going to expose how naive and yeah, pretty much how very naive I was and how green I was in the Lord. Looking back on it, I probably wouldn't have taken that so strongly, but I had my mom raised me to have a huge reverence for God, and especially being in the house of the Lord. So I'm like, a deacon is interested in me. Oh my gosh, maybe I should, you know, not smoke or drink no more, because I was still smoking and drinking. I just wasn't doing it with other people per se. But yeah, I was still smoking and drinking, and so I was like, okay. I mean, I went home and smoked the blunt that night. Don't get it twisted. But I was like, maybe I should slow down. I'm like, if a deacon is interested in me, maybe there is something valuable in me. So I still was coming to that church, and I saw that he wanted to approach me, and I was just like, oh no, I'm not ready for no deacon. I'm like, I am ratchet. I am smoking and drinking. I'm just gonna keep it real. At that point in time, I was still a thought. I'm an ideal now, but I was a thought back then. I'm like, I'm a thought. That's not what I said, because that word wasn't around back then. I'm really aging myself. And I was like, I don't think, nah, I curved them. I'm gonna be real, I curved them. Cause I'm like, I am not ready to take that call to be with a deacon. You feel me? So I ended up going back to the church I was going to, which was the family church. So it's like the mother church where I'm at, which bred all these other churches. Anyway, I back to the mother church. I remember signing up for vacation Bible school, because I was like I said, at this time I was on fire. I'm like, I'm gonna stay busy. I'm trying to, stop this. I want to change my life. I want to give it to God. So I remember signing up for vacation Bible school. So eventually they called me, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna come to vacation Bible school. Of course, I traveled in a pack with my mother and my nieces, and my nephew. Only had one nephew at that time. Um, and I remember going there with my mother, and of course he was there, and I was like, oh, okay, I didn't think nothing of it, because we were preparing for vacation Bible school. This was a week before it started. And I remember I was leaving, and he was looking at me so hard he almost fell in the bushes. And I heard a guy say, if you like her, then go talk to her. And now I remember this after the fact. For whatever reason, it did not register at the time. It wasn't registering. That's a story of my life. Um, so it wasn't registering at that time, that he was that into me. I was just like, what? So of course I came back, and I don't remember which day it was, because honestly, this was what, 12 years ago. But I remember my mom saying to me, oh, you should holler at that guy. That guy's fun. I'm just like, uh, I have to be real, sir, and anybody who know him, if he watching, I don't know who's watching this. I've been surprised by who actually pays attention to me. Which I'll get into later on. But anyway, I'm gonna be real. I told my mom this. I said, oh please, he probably ran through everyone else. I say, if he hollering at me, he coming at hard. And I'm like, I look all right. That means you gonna ran through everyone else. I had a discernment that he was a mixture of two cousins, and these two cousins were not. They were womanizers. There we go. Had to find a good Christian way of putting it. They were womanizers, so I was like, no thanks. But anyway, the Holy Spirit just kept impressing on me about him, like giving him a chance, and I'm just like, God, I'm just not ready. So I did continue to curve him. I did. Um, yeah. Yeah, I can't lie and say, oh, I didn't know he liked me. No, 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 no. I'm not gonna tell that lie. So anyway, um, some time had passed, um, and then in 2011, I saw him at the big family church, and at this time, I had went back to my old ways, and when I saw that he was still interested, that was God telling me, I still have plans for you. So got myself, cleaned myself up again, because at this point I had red hair, um, I had black nails with gold, like, the French manicures. Instead of the white, it was the black, and it was gold trim around it. And at this point, I had got rid of all of that. And I was like, okay, God. And he gave me a dream, and I'll never forget this dream. It was me, and God was flashing all these guys in my past that I had did wrong. And it was like, and I'm talking to my mom. I said, he wanted to marry me, and I'm chasing this person. This is a faceless person. I don't know who the person is. And I'm saying, I never did this before, you know? And then the person looks back at me very heartbroken, like, you know. And then this is at night, mind you. And then daytime, I I'm sorry, not daytime, sorry, I skipped. Then it flashed forward in a dream of me during the day, and it's bright outside, and the guy comes knocking on my door, and I accept him, and I'm happy to see him, and I accept him, and I'm just like, oh wow, that's a weird dream. So anyway, I when I saw him early 2011, I curved him again, and then I had this dream, and God was like, you're gonna have to start doing things differently. You're gonna have to, you know, you need to. At that point in time, he didn't tell me who it was, but he's like, you need to right or wrong that you did. And I'm like, okay, 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 cool, cool, cool. So then he shows up, and this is again at the family church. And I was just so nervous because God was telling me I need to say hi to him, to speak to him or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. You know, he may not like me no more. Because he wasn't acting the same. He wasn't approaching me, which I understand now because I kept curving him. That makes sense. So, you know, my mom is, you know, my mom, I loved her to death. That's my homie. That will always be um my ace boon coon. And she was like, I don't care. I wouldn't care if he turned me down, child. He is fine as wine. And I was like, Mom. She's in church saying this, right? So I'm like, okay, I said something. And then, um, anyway, I'm not going to get into every detail. But, you know, I spoke to him or whatever. And then he come ugh, sorry, because I'm getting nervous. I really don't want to talk about this. So he started coming over to that church, and you know, I'm still acting stank, you know, stank. And I went over to his, you know, to the same church, and um he was walking, and he almost ran into the speakers, and then hey, it was guys like, you what you going, what you looking at or whatever. So he's over here being introduced to my mom, to my brother. My brother had came this time, and then also my cousin, which they end up being cool. He ended up, you know, doing that, and you know, introducing himself, and I was just like, I was getting a vibe of a guy like who I dealt with in my past. He was just nice to look at, and that's what I told my mom. I said he's just nice to look at, whatever, and that's it. We leaving it there, cause I'm like no, cause I was getting like no. He a dog, you know. He a womanizer, so nah, I'm not feeling that. So I'm at home, you know, feeling myself, getting arrogant. Like, ooh, I got this deacon, this fine deacon, just doing all this for me. And I twisted my knee, twisted it, fell on the floor. And God humbled me. He said, he started revealing to me, I had him do all that. I'm having this guy approach you. You need to make it up to him. And I remember he came to the family church, and God was like, you need to give him a hug. And I procrastinated. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Because my worst fear was that I was going to get payback for what I did to all those guys. Um, and so I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Now, he became very irritated and mad because I get it. God is telling you to approach someone, but I keep swerving you, and I keep having this stink attitude, and I'm not acting the way I'm supposed to be acting. Um, And so he gets angry. He's like, why does she keep looking at me? Right. So I end up hugging him after because I made a promise to God. God literally wouldn't let me go to sleep unless I put my hand on the Bible and promised that I did it. So, um, yeah. So I had to hug him afterwards. Now, you can imagine, if you don't know the whole story, that I look extremely desperate and that he doesn't want me. And that's how people perceived it. So I seen people at this family church talking to me. And now at this point, not talking to me, talking about me. I see them looking at me. You know when people talking about you because they look at you and laugh. I mean, they look back, while they're sitting in the pew and laughing. It's like you could at least play it off. You don't have to look back and laugh. Like, I know you're talking about me. So I'm just real mad. I'm like, God, what you doing? And then at the purity ceremony, and that I'm skipping because I really don't want to talk about this. So God's, once again, he wouldn't let me sleep, and he made me put my right hand on the Bible, and he made me promise that I would tell him that I like him. And I'm like, what? So I'm waiting for him to come to family church, because I was like, I'm not going to him. You got me messed up. You got me messed up. You got me messed up, friend. You got me messed up, friend. So, yeah. So we had the purity ceremony. He didn't show up, and I'm not gonna tell you what I did, but trust me, it was not. I threw a temper tantrum because I didn't want to go. And my mom prayed for me. She's like, if God tell you to do it, baby, you got to do it. And I was just like, oh, okay. So at this time when I went, Sabbath was closing, the sun was setting, and I saw him. He was standing out there talking to someone, and I was like, okay, good. I don't have to actually walk in. He's standing outside. You're making this easy for me, God. That's what I thought at that time. I found out later it wasn't the case. So, I saw him, walked up to him. I said, can I talk to you for a minute? And I thought, the guy is there, like, person he was talking to, and I thought maybe he would. Looking back on it, I should have just told him to, like, hey, can we walk over here? But I was just so nervous. He only walked over a little bit, and he's looking at me like what you got to say? And I'm just like, God, this is what I'm talking about. And I'm saying this in my head. I didn't say it out loud. I ain't that crazy. And so I was just like, I tried to press forward. So I told him that I liked him, right? And he's like, oh, well, I'm talking to someone else at that family church. I'm like, oh, okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. And I was like, I'm so embarrassed because I'm like, there's all these thoughts running through my head. Like, why did you have me do this, God? Oh my gosh, I knew this was going to happen. I knew I was going to get payback. I knew I was going to get payback. And I'm just like, oh, that's cool, whatever. And he's like, oh, that's good. They don't feel embarrassed because, it's good that you're bold. And I said, I'm not bold. I said, I've never done this before. And so I was just like, you know what? Because I'm so embarrassed at this point. Like, you know what? Let's just pretend it didn't happen. Because I'm thinking this, I'm imagining all this in my head. Like, he ain't feeling me. And he walks away and he looks at me sad. And I instantly got like scared because it was exactly how it was in that dream. So I was like, oh snap. Like when something happens and God's getting ready to do something, that's what I got. So I'm gonna be real with you. I got drunk. I took down a whole bottle of wine and I bought a 32 ounce of OE. Keeping it real. That was lame. But that's what happened. I took down a whole bottle of Zinfandel, a white Zinfandel. I think that's how it's pronounced, whatever. And I was just like, me and God, I was like so depressed. I'm like, God, what are you doing? Why did you do that? Now you would think God would just have me just go somewhere and just not think about it, right? No, he's like, I want you to go back for Sabbath. I want you to go back for a vacation Bible school. I said, what? At that same church? Like they're all going to be making fun of me. They're going to. They did not. I didn't understand the words that she was saying at that time, but I appreciate them now. I remember at church, she said, sometimes God has to show us what we don't deserve in order for us to appreciate what we do deserve. And I looked at her like, girl, what you trying? I just got him. Listen, I wasn't trying to hear. I gave her the craziest look and she walked off. And I was just, remember I told my mama that. She said, oh, she'll know what she's talking about. My mama, yeah. And I understand it now. Now, hindsight is always 20/20. Anywho, my mom ended up having surgery on her knee, and God was telling me, you need to go back and do it all over again. I said, what? And I'm telling you, he told this to me while I'm sitting at the family church, right? And they're talking about King Nebuchadnezzar, how he disobeyed God and he walked around crazy for 7 years. He ended up eating the grass in the field. And as God warned me, if you don't do what I say, you're gonna be walking around crazy. And I did. I'll get into that later. But anywho, my mom was in the hospital for knee surgery, and instead of doing what God told me to do, I went to see my mom. And I'm talking to my mom, but she's like, "Baby, you gotta do what God tell you to do." And I'm so mad. And I'm like, the Holy Spirit telling me to do it. And I'm like, I'm obeying a commandment. Honor that mother. And the Holy Spirit is yelling at me, "That's not what I told you to do." So I went and drove to the college church again, getting ready to, profess my feelings again. And I see him standing out there, and it's sprinkling, friend. It's sprinkling. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I circled back around, and he was gone. And yeah, that was the spiral from there. So in 2012, God is telling me not to speak on that situation with that dude at this point, right? In 2012, we're not going to talk about that. 2012, I found my calling. I remember just feeling so much anger and confusion about what happened with this guy. And I remember I tried to talk to people about it. And I remember God telling me, and I wish I would have listened. He said, "You do not need to talk to people about this situation because this is between you, me, and him, and they're not going to understand." And I was like, and I didn't listen because honestly, I didn't want to listen because this didn't feel good. This wasn't helping my ego. Okay. And that's what the very thing that God was trying to kill: my ego, my cockiness, my attitude problem through this situation with this guy. Anywho, we're in 2012. I'm so angry with God. I'm only showing up to church just to prove people wrong. And I remember during the evangelist effort, Pastor Randy Skeet said, I argue with God and I make valid points, but I never win. And I was like, yeah, I was saying yeah for the wrong reasons, friend. Because I'm like, yeah, I'll be making good points. And God still told me, no, do what I say. So, yeah, at this point, God had told me I had to be nice to him no matter what. And I said, what? So at this point, I was just very confused. And I found my calling. I'm not going to go over that story again, told my testimony. The rest is history. So 2013, I moved to a different church, from the family church to, not the college church, to another church in the country. That's what I'm going to call it. We're going to call it the country church. And this pastor was the pastor of the country church as well as the college church, right? So, mind you, during this whole thing, this pastor was he came in 2010. He was actually, yeah, he came in 2010. Yeah, he, at that time I was still going there. Yeah, and then they were introducing him or whatever. So anywho, I ended up going to that church, and he preached a sermon about how we view Jesus, how some people view Jesus as Lord and some people view Jesus as Savior, right? And the problem is that he's Lord and Savior. So people who view Jesus as Lord, they think that he is a mean God who just strikes you down and casts his judgment on you. And if you get out of line, he's just going to strike you with lightning. Then there's those who view him just as Savior, who is like Santa Claus. He's here to provide us gifts, and he's full of love, and there's no correction. You just do whatever you want. There's abundance of love, which he's both. He's the God who wants to give us good gifts, who gives us grace and mercy, and he loves us, and he wants to give us good things. And we should come to him with our wants and desires, but it should be submitted to his will only if it's his will. And he is Lord. He will cast out judgment, and he will correct when need to be corrected if you're not understanding, but he's only correcting because he doesn't want you to lose your soul. He doesn't want you to go to hell. He don't want you to be overtaken by the devil. And at this point in time, I just saw him as Lord. Like he was a mean, nasty God. I mean, it sounds weird saying it now, but that was my mindset. And he's like, you got to put those together. And God's like, you got to get rebaptized. I'm like, what? Why did I ain't do nothing wrong? It ain't that serious, right? I'm over here talking trash, right? I made the point to say that he was the pastor of both churches because it's going to make sense. So God had me go to, the college church, and he was preaching that same sermon. I'm like, oh, and I talked trash again. Then I gave my own self a sermon, which is weird. That's a very, very weird thing to give your own self a sermon. And my mom was like, oh, taken back, like, oh. And then he spoke about it again at Wednesday night prayer. And I was like, okay, God, I get you. I didn't get it. So I got rebaptized, right? It took me 9 years, the end of 2021, when I heard that message in 2013, what God was trying to say. I finally put the two together. Anywho, so I'm just like, all right, cool, whatever. And God's like, I want you to be a part of the college church. Okay, we're not talking about that yet. Sorry. Actually, yes, sorry. I'm trying to get together. So anyway, yeah. God's like, okay, I want you to be a part of the college church. And I'm like, all right, cool. No, I wasn't. I didn't say cool. I was angry and upset. I didn't want to go because at this point in time in 2013, I was friends with someone who I thought was my friend. I was theirs, but they were not mine. And I was trying to confide in them about the situation, but little did I know, they were sabotaging and talking about me and talking to someone at that church and just telling all the business, everything deep, my deepest, feelings or whatever you want to call it, me being vulnerable with them. They took it and they used it against me. So at this point in time, this guy had become very nasty towards me. He started telling people that I was obsessed with him, and which was not the case. I didn't want to deal with you to begin with because I knew how you were. And I was talking to people because I was trying to reconcile what God was doing didn't make sense to me. And I was just trying to get some understanding because I'm a person who has been sexually abused. God, you know that. You know that I've already had issues with men. I don't trust them. I overcame hating men in 2012, and I'm like, I'm trying to overcome that, and you're putting someone in my face who is fulfilling every nightmare, my worst fear ever come to pass. Everything about me, every fear that I had about being vulnerable with a man is being manifested. And he's still telling me you got to be nice. Now, I realized once again in 2021, I figured out what he meant by that. He meant that, you got to be nice, meaning don't be vicious like you normally do. Because there was times I had to tell God, you better come get him because he finna meet Trisha. Okay? Trisha don't play. All right? I will run the game. I will run the game on you so bad that you don't know if you're coming or going, friend. You was going to turn your life over to Jesus because I was going to run game on you that bad. And I'm like, you better get him, because I said, you know how it is. I said, at this point, I'm older. I can take him down in a week flat. Normally it would take me in a month to break him, but I would have took me a week to break him. I said, you better get him. So I was church hopping. For any of y'all who watching this and y'all was like, well, she was church hopping. That was for people's safety, and that was for my salvation. God was trying to save you and me too. Okay? Anywho, God told me to be a member of that church. I'm like, no. I said, because it's going to start from him embarrassing me every Sabbath, to him, not every Sabbath, whenever I visit there, to him embarrass me every Sabbath. Since I'm going to be a member, I'm going to be working. And my worst fear came true. Now, mind you, I was a lot skinnier because I had to constantly pray and fast so I wouldn't be in the flesh with him. And honestly, that was God training me, because whenever I face, something hard, I would go to smoking and drinking. Well, I'm not going to come to church high and drunk. So I had to pray and fast. And I wanted to just lay into him, but God told me to be nice. Now, like I said, I didn't follow those instructions correctly. I thought that meant, oh, even though you're talking about me and your embarrassment, that was going to be nice. That's not what God was saying. God was saying, don't retaliate. I still should have showed that I was angry. I still should have corrected it. I still should have showed indifference towards him for treating me like that. But again, I misunderstood the direction. So looking back on it in hindsight, I can kind of see how people believe that I was obsessed with him, because he's over here embarrassing me, and I'm like, God bless you, whatever. So I'm enduring this, right? He got people believing this. I got people talking about me, making fun of me. And mind you, I'm confiding in someone who's telling my business, right? Because I don't know what God's doing. Because this is my first time. And I don't care what anyone says. If you are new to church, if you have been through abuse, even if you haven't been through pain, if you have God leading you to someone, you're going to think that's it. You're going to think they're the one. You're going to think that this is it. You feel me? So at this point in time, I'm thinking this, and I'm like, God, I don't want nothing to do with marriage. Oh, heck no. I don't want to be married, because, no, I don't want to be tied to that. Okay. Anyway, he just embarrassed the heck out of me. And people, like I said, people are joining in on it. And I'm going to say it because it needs to be said. I was one of the very few Americans that were there. The church was comprised of mostly Black people from the Caribbean. So I was outnumbered. I already had that against me, that I was American. And I don't want to hear y'all saying that this, that doesn't exist. I'm saying this because it needs to be addressed. We are all in Jesus. When we're at church, there should be no differences between nationalities. I was not raised to be that way. My parents told me that we all Black. And it don't matter where you come from, we all treated the same, and we should all come together. So I didn't understand the animosity that Caribbean people had against Black Americans. I didn't understand it because I wasn't raised. Now, after doing research, I found out, and talking to different people, that, growing up in America and being a Caribbean American, some Black Americans are not nice. But don't take out what one Black American did, or a group, or how many you ran across their audacity did to you on me. Don't assume because I'm American I think I'm better, because I didn't understand where all this hatred come from. People, and these are Christians, mind you, they said more racist stuff to me than I heard from any white person, honestly. And yeah, so no one was on my side. I was really at that church on my own. And anywho, in 2014, the pastor of both of those churches ended up going and moving. A new pastor came in. And it went from worse to absolute hell. This pastor could not stand me. He was 100% Caribbean, and he had disdain for Americans, and he made that very clear. So he couldn't stand me. So the bullying and the making fun of me got a whole lot worse, because he was condoning it, and he was the ringleader. So I'm just like really about to lose it. I'm telling these people in prayer meeting that, I'm on my last string with God. I can't really take too much more. And they still went on me. I'm asking for prayer for my sister-in-law, because at this point in time, she had a stroke. And this is in 2015 now. And they still went in on me. I'm like, I'm praying my sister-in-law had a stroke. It was looking like she wasn't going to make it. She was going to die. But they prayed. They did pray for me, but they talked about me at the same time. Then I lost my nieces. They moved away. My nieces and my nephew who kept me anchored in the Lord, who I basically treated like my children. Picked them up from school when they were sick, brought them, had them very involved in church adventures, all that, etc. Children's choir, yeah. They left. So I'm dealing with all of this at the same time. I got this guy telling lies. I have the church people believing it, and I have the pastor even behind him. The pastor's even behind him on this. And I snapped. Now, mind you, when I was going through the situation with the guy, because it's very important. If I'm going to expose people, I'm going to expose myself too. I'm going to tell the truth about myself. All these things he's doing, God had revealed I did to somebody. And up until this point, I always tried to justify my actions. Even though I'm going through it, I'm feeling the pain of how that feels. I'm still trying to justify it. And God's like, you're going to have to go through this for 4 years. And each year is for each guy. And, so it had started in 2011 and it ended in 2015. And when I came to the revelation, when I had just about enough of him, I asked for it. I told the pastor, I said, listen, even though I know the pastor don't like me, I was just so desperate for this to be over. I said, listen, this man has been bullying me for 4 years straight. I've been dealing with this foolishness for 4 years. I said, someone needs to intervene. We need to have a conversation. Someone needs to be a mediator, but this has to stop. So the pastor's taken back. It's like, 4 years. Oh my gosh. To this day, I don't know how I endured that for 4 years. It was Jesus with a mixture of insanity. Insanity. Yeah. So I went through it for 4 years with that man. And at this point, I'm like, this has to stop. You can't keep treating me like this. I said, Lord, please don't let him keep treating me like this, and don't let me treat anyone else like this. Because I remember God had revealed to me how I hurt someone, a man from my past. And I said, well, he need to let that go. And I remember I was talking about the pain he caused me, and I heard him say the exact words, well, she need to just let that go. And I was like, oh my gosh, I see what you're trying to get me to see. I looked at that as just payback, and it wasn't payback. It was God desperately trying to save me. One thing I will tell you about God is that if he's trying to tell you to stop being some way, he will do anything in his power to save you. Okay? And usually he'll send you nice people who want to treat you right, but you don't get it. So he has to put you in front of yourself. He has to show you how you are. He puts you in front of a mirror and said, this is how you are. You see how it feels? It don't feel good, does it? I'm trying to get this because I got a husband for you. That's what he told me. A pastor told me in 2011, and I wasn't happy. He's like, no, you cannot get to heaven without a husband. You got to have a husband. I was like, anywho, he had to put the mirror in front of me to see how it felt, to feel how damaging it is, And, the pastor who I confided in and asked to intervene is like, oh, well, I'm going to have this elder for him, and then I'm going to be the one for you. Now, I know this man don't like me. This was going to turn into an attack session. They were all three going to gang up on me, and I was going to be the one wrong. And I said, oh, no. I said, I feel like there's too many people in this already, and add another person's not helpful. I said, never mind, don't worry about it. So I end up, because this is what God told me to do. He said, I want you to tell them to vote you off the books, because I was going to another church and I was going to do a transfer because I didn't want anyone following me. I wanted to be so done with him and the situation and those people that I said, vote me out. And I became a member of another Seventh-day Adventist church. I didn't want to transfer. I did not want to transfer. I don't want a transfer. I don't want them to know where I'm at. I don't want anyone to find out about this whole situation. I want to start somewhere fresh. And I did. And yeah. So 20 2015 I finally got a job as well. I wasn't underemployed. I wasn't like, working in a labor pool or anything. I was a full-time employee. And well, I had a lot of anger, and those poor people caught all that stuff I went through with them church people. I took it out on them, and I took it out, and I did not learn my lesson about not doing men like this. So when I left that um that job, I went to another job. This is 2017, and God warned me. He said, if you keep playing with men like this, either someone's going to beat you up badly or they're going to kill you. I said, okay. And that is not condoning women getting abused, people who are manipulated and used in an abusive relationship. No, this is my journey. Please do not apply that to yours. If you are in an abusive relationship or something violent happens to you, do not think that that's God's judgment on you. You need to seek help and get out. This is just pertaining to me. Because I was purposely asking God to send me men, and I was purposely hurting them and manipulating them and driving them crazy. That's a difference. There's a huge difference. So anyway, 2017 comes, and I'm at this job, which y'all know, that's in the Bible study, Church Philadelphia. That's the job that I went to. Anyway, left that job, and then I started a job at USAA, February of 2019. Now, you may have noticed that I left names of places and people out of this until I got to USAA. Well, that's because they did nothing to protect me. So I feel, and I prayed about it and I asked God, are you sure you want me to do it? He said, go ahead, call them out by name. Because the treatment that I received there was so atrocious. There's no need to protect you, or not call you out by name. And this is what I call this period of my life, going through the fire. So I honestly have been, I still have, some things. I'm still very paranoid. But for the most part, God has brought me to a place of forgiveness for them. I don't go on rants anymore. And I don't shoot them in a bird when I ride past the building. I'm just being honest. That's what I was doing. I'm not going to pretend. But in 2019, I had becoming out of my crisis, my mental state. So at this point, God is revealing everything to me about the situation at church, how badly this so-called friend has sabotaged me, and little did I know, he was just revealing just the tip of the iceberg of how much she sabotaged me. And I was just like, I'm done. I said, you told me to be friends with this person, and I didn't want to be. And she knew that. We both were very candid about that. We were at college. God told me to give her a ride. It looked like it was going to rain. I didn't want to do it. He told her to accept the ride because it looked like it was going to rain, because she didn't want to do it. Then it didn't end up raining. And then she told me how she was, like how she likes to get people back and how evil she was. And I said, to be honest with you, I had a friend like this already, and I don't want to be around people like that because you're going to turn against me, what she did. And she said, oh, okay. Because I didn't want to be friends with her, and she didn't want to be friends with me. Am I stupid? So, but God made me be friends with her. And I said it to her face. I said, well, I'm only calling back because God said he's making me be friends with you anyway. Because that's how blunt I was at that time. I had no tact. So we knew what it was. I made the best of it because I'm representing God. I was a true friend to her. And I assumed that she was doing the same thing back. No. So at this point in time, he had revealed all this to me. And I was like, you led me to a guy who I didn't really want to deal with. I knew it was like this, and I got hurt. You led me to a friend who I knew was going to do that to me, and I got hurt. I don't know about this whole relationship thing. I don't know about this whole thing about God. Um, I don't I don't know about you. I mean, I was going to church, I was serving in church, but my relationship with God, I'm kind of like, you know what? I think, I think I should just do some things myself, because listening to you, I'm just being real. That's how I felt. Listening to you is just ain't what's happening. So at this point in time, I was not waiting till I got married. I was not going to wait till I got married to be intimate. I was gonna go back to my old ways, because I was like, these. I mean, if I'm getting, I felt at that point in time, if I'm getting the same results, I'm also just go back to how I was. So anyway, um, the reason why I said that God has forgiven me about the whole USA thing is because um, I'm gonna walk through what I went through with them, but I'm gonna have to pull up and show you guys old emails because I honestly forgot everything. Um, so the next slide you're gonna see is me talking about my time at USAA and what I went through. Hey, so as I stated, I worked for USAA. I decided to put this picture because I know some people are going to think I made this all up. Um, so this is my ID. I blocked out some things, but I just wanted you to see me, and I wanted you to see my badge, so that yeah, I was actually a USAA employee. As I stated, I started in 2019 in February. I would say the writing on the wall about USAA was very. I noticed it very soon that these people were extremely racist. The co-workers, I even spoke out about it, which ruffled some feathers. I basically said, you know, I dealt with racist white people, and but these white people take it to a whole different level, and they didn't like me after that. So I got a manager, and he was trying to get rid of me very, very quickly, and they purposely put him under him for that reason. And I remember God just protecting me and making sure my stats were good so he couldn't do it. Yeah. Um, I remember going through this racism, him attacking me, and I'm like, God, I've been, him trying me, and, me wanting to retaliate. And he told me the same words he gave me for the fellow in church, is that you have to be nice no matter what. And I said, not this again, God. Not this again, God. No. No, you can't do this to me again. You can't do this to me again. I said, this is even worse. This is every day. And it's racism on top of that. Oh, I'm gonna be honest. Um, I didn't talk about it as much as I did the other fellow, because I said I'm gonna learn my lesson. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I ain't gonna talk to people. I'm gonna do what the Lord say. And he told me that I was going to endure it for 8 months. So it started in August, and then I had to endure it until April. Until April, yeah. Until April. Um, but yeah, it was definitely not cool, not cool. But yeah, I just wanted to show my proof. Now I know some people are gonna say, well, you probably photoshopped and doctored it or whatever. Listen, if I had those type of skills, the videos I put out would probably be better quality. And if you say, well, someone else could have did it for me, again, if I had access to someone, or had the money to pay for someone to do all that, I would have better quality videos. And that's no shade towards me. But it's just you just gotta use common sense, people. But I know someone still, even with all this, they're gonna be like, "Girl, you're making it all up." No, ma'am. No, sir. Okay, so as promised, I stated that I would show you the emails that I sent. Um, Basically, a formal complaint against my manager at the time. Um, I'm going to skip the two who it may concern, and I'm going to go over the dates. So, August 30th, I wore a shirt red, black by popular demand. My manager made a point to tell someone else that he liked their shirt. On September 16th, I wore my maroon USAA polo. My manager made a point to let me know that he liked my shirt. Another manager made a comment about me wearing Jordans. He said, "Really? You're wearing Jordans?" I said, "Yes." He replied, "You're not playing basketball." I, at that point, walked off. Then that manager began to discuss about an article calling another athlete that word. Okay. Um, December 5th, 2019, he engaged in a conversation about the football player Colin Kaepernick. In 2018, I messaged him on Skype letting him know that I needed to renew my driver's license on my birthday, which was coming up soon. So I don't want to give out my age and too much personal information. We began to message back and forth. Then I said out loud, "Do you want to see my license?" He walked over aggressively and actually looked at my license to verify it was true. Um, I forgot to add in that email that he actually snatched the license out of my hand, which I did take ownership when I spoke to HR about it. I said I shouldn't have said that out loud and caused a scene by saying, "Do you want to see my license?" Um, in 2019, I was working on my claims list, and the other manager that he constantly engaged with asked, "Was my headset on?" He answered yes. He began to go into a tangent about how I ignored email and delayed repairs on a claim quite loudly. This was an everyday routine for him and the other manager to discuss my performance out in the open. I cannot recall the other times and dates, but this was the last straw for me. So yes, he embarrassed me pretty much every day. He would keep in mind I was new to auto claims. I have never even worked claims at all at this point, but anytime I made a mistake, he made it a huge deal about it. They really belittled me. Um, he would purposely pick calls and give me a low, like whenever I forgot what it's called right now, a claim review. Yeah, he would purposely make sure that he give me a high enough score so it didn't look too obvious, but not high enough where I was basically meeting goal. But yeah, he would constantly um talk out loud and not even address me directly. He wouldn't even be talking to me, but he would be talking to him out loud, embarrassing me, talking about how I did stuff wrong on a claim. And some of those times my claims got messed up. I did not do it. Someone else did it. When I did make mistakes, no one ever addressed me about them. They just talked about me and just considered me incompetent at my job. Um, so yeah, when he came back from vacation. This was after Christmas. Um, I addressed the previous incident with him and asked if he had an issue to please address it with me privately. He said sorry, but he didn't take any ownership. Yeah, he was like, "Well, I'm sorry you felt that way." I can't really remember at this time. Like I said, it was so long ago and I kind of let it go, but he didn't take any ownership. He's like, "I'm sorry if your feelings were hurt, but this, that, whatever." He didn't take any ownership. And then I began to discuss his inappropriate relationship with a female coworker, which she was white, just like he was, and they would both basically go in on me. And yeah, it was not cool. So I gave dates of when to prove this point that he does give special favors. To those who are either white or if they are female, um, that they have to basically, you know what I mean, provide extra. You know what I'm trying to say. So she begged him repeatedly to take off the next day with her. She has every Wednesday off, and she pleaded to take it off with her so they could spend the day together. They went on breaks together. He showed her favoritism, and I believe the previous week or two, they both took a Monday off together. So yeah, they were both talking about how they went to Disney World together and how they took that day off. And then as you see at the bottom, I basically observed that the other manager that he frequently engaged with, that he sits all the African Americans to the end of the aisle from him, and only sits Caucasian males next to him, which is true. He made sure to put the women and the African Americans away from him. So any of you who work in a call center, you know that the usual setup is that there is a lead chair in the front of the line, and it's a computer where the manager or CSM, whatever it's called, sits at, and then on both sides there are rows of computers and chairs where everyone sits at, and he made sure to not put them near him. So this is my first complaint against them. At this point, I was just extremely fed up. Okay, so after I sent that email, I met with an HR representative. They're called employee relations, and I told him everything, what had been happening, what I've been experiencing, yada yada yada. So he gathered all the information. He's like, I'll circle back and let you know once I've done my investigation. Cool, bet. Oh Lord. So how they've been treating me beforehand was actually, they were being nice considered to how they acted after I told. So this email you're seeing, um this is me escalating things to the vice president or the president. I don't know his position now. You know, 2 years ago. So, yeah, the vice president or the president of property and casualty for insurance, and I was just, basically reaching out to him because I didn't like how the employee relations person was acting. So in this email, you'll see my concerns. The next email will give a breakdown of exactly why I have these concerns, but this is just to give you like kind of idea of how everything occurred. So as you can see, I said I'm sending this email. I said up until the day that I met with, the employee relations person for the second time on March 4th, I was harassed almost daily by the two individuals. The only relief I have is when you came to visit on March 4th. I had a follow up with the employee relations person. You see his name there. He advised the issues I brought against my manager were addressed, except the allegations of racial discrimination. He asked me to read over the statements HR had typed on paper. He said as long as everything was okay, I can sign it and it'll be addressed. As I was going to sign the paper, he mumbled, "It's not like we're going to do anything or go anywhere," but I continued to sign the paper because, you're not going to discourage me at this point. Y'all have done too much for me to back down now. Yeah, anyway. He uttered, "Oh, you're still going to sign it anyway." He asked if anything happened since the last time we met. I answered yes. I proceeded to pull out a piece of paper with the incidents of harassment. He told me everything had already been addressed. He just wanted to close the case. I mentioned to him, the incident happened on February 28th, which I'm going to break that down later in another email. And, like I told him, of course, I went in knowing that I didn't have enough evidence to support my claim, but I wanted to have it on record in case something else happened. One of the first things he said to me, if there's any footage, it didn't happen. He shrugged his shoulder and had an attitude on his face of no concern. I looked at him horrified. After seeing my face, he called in security. I talked with them, and even then he kept making snide remarks. I had a meeting with someone on March 9th. Can't remember his name, but he was very dismissive and undermining. I became very frustrated and drained from the whole thing and just told him to drop it. And yeah. So yeah, I did have a meeting with security. I was telling him what happened, and he basically just gaslit me the whole way. He just kept gaslighting me. He kept undermining me. He kept trying to make me, recant or just make me feel like I was going crazy. So I said, you know what, just don't even worry about it. Yeah. And I told him writing because I recently made an attempt because he has recently made an attempt to sabotage my metrics. I did not want to reach out to the HR person because he has made it clear that he is biased and partial to, my former manager. Also, my fears is that this might happen to someone else. And I'm talking about, the other managers, and the reason why I didn't speak up sooner is because of COVID-19. We went in lockdown. I just tried to let it go, but they just kept coming for me, honestly. Yeah. So that's that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is pull up the email that I sent to the employee relations manager, because I end up going on short-term disability leave because all this was triggering pre-existing health conditions that I have. And I went on disability leave, and during that time, God was like, you need to speak up, you need to speak up. I was given even more information. That whole Doja Cat situation happened, didn't do nothing. And honestly, they had said that. I remember my manager and the other manager he frequently talked to, were talking about how they were watching the news, and they heard, and they was talking to, sorry, they were watching the news, and yeah, they said, yeah, didn't do nothing. And I remember looking back at him and other Black employees looking at them like they're crazy, and then they changed the subject. So when that whole Doja Cat thing came out, that was God letting me know I wasn't dealing with your run-of-the-mill everyday racist white person. I was dealing with white supremacists at this point. And I have other stuff to support that claim that I wasn't dealing with just, like I say, your everyday run-of-the-mill racist or prejudiced white person. These are people who are highly linked. This is an agenda. They are extremely, they hate Black people for real, and these are very dangerous people. But yeah, I had very much concerns. Yeah, I went to go buy a gun. I went to do a permit to carry class. The person who was even before I even going to the class, like even me trying to sign up for it, the person who owned the gun shop, he kept discouraging me. He's like, oh, they're not going to have a class until this date. And I'm like, what? And he was trying to get me not to take the class. And I was like, this is crazy. And then I did finally take the class, and the person was he had been in the police force. And he started saying things that would only pertain to me, only if you had been watching me. Things I had done, and he was just bringing up examples of things that only I have done, and it's like there's no way that's a coincidence. So you're trying to say y'all all got eyes on me at all time. That didn't, again, I guess they thought that was going to intimidate me and scare me to shut me up. I just looked at him with the same look like I gave my boss, which I'll go into, like, and so what? I'm still going to keep doing this. I'm still going to fight, because at the end of the day, I am going to protect myself and my family. If someone comes after me, I'm not going to go looking for it, but I do believe in self-defense. I believe in God. God definitely has protected me. Thank the Lord, I have not had to use any other weapons or weaponry that I did obtain. But yeah, yeah, I went into, survival mode. I'm being honest. I mean, looking back on it, would I have probably gotten it? I don't know, but I can say that honestly, God is my ultimate protection. But I'm telling you, my mind state at that time. Okay, so here is the follow up email that I had. This was the email um, that I basically got from the supervisor of the HR rep. Before I even get into that, do you know when I sent the email to the president of PNC Property and Casualty, he had a employee relations person reach out to me from another state who was black and was a woman, and oh, to try to pacify me, to try to like let me know, okay, it's coming from a black woman. Oh, we did everything we can. There's nothing else to be done. Mind you, all these people who I complained on still had their job. They were not fired. There was, it was crazy. It's like, how is he able to still have a job? You know what I'm saying? And I'll go through everything they did, and that's just why I kept escalating it, because I'm like, there's no way he should have a job. These people should not be. This is not cool. Like, these people are doing this stuff and they still have access to my personal information. I made this complaint in February. I was not given a new manager until April. Like, there was no speediness of concern for my safety. There was no urgency to get me moved. No, they kept me there under him. And with, the whole COVID work from home, he knew where I lived because he had to confirm my address to make sure that, the equipment was getting sent somewhere else. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, y'all tripping for real, for real. I mean, honestly, I know that, COVID has destroyed a lot of lives, and I know that a lot of people have died, lost loved ones. My heart goes out to you. Condolences. I will keep you lifted up in prayer. I know people are still feeling the financial repercussions of lockdown. And again, my heart and my prayers are out to you. But if it had not been for that lockdown, I don't know I would be alive talking to y'all, because there was no concern for my safety at that job at all. Lockdown, saved me. It saved me, because they were not doing enough. I was not protected. But you see the email. He's saying all this stuff. Work from home permanently, because this is back in August 2020, when we thought it wasn't gonna last long. Haha, joke on us. But yeah. Yeah, and he said he'll circle back with me. He did circle back, and he proceeded to gaslight me as well. I had hoped that something was going to be done, because he seemed like at first he was going to do it. Then I guess, I don't know. He started. I don't know, but yeah. hmm Um. Anywho, so these are the concerns that I had. Let me go back up. So, yeah, you can see here the week of 2017. Um, I began to engage in a conversation with a coworker of mine. So this person had basically, we've been together since training, you know, and we were sat right behind, right by each other. He was on the other manager's team, who my manager always, his his sidekick, or whatever you want to call it, um, partner in crime. And yeah, he was under him and I was under my manager, but we were sitting right next to each other, so we chatted all the time. I thought this was someone was cool with me, but I found out that was not the case. I will say this situation really, really broke me out of my naiveness, because I really, God's like, you being naive and being too nice and stuff, it's gonna become a matter of life and death for you. You gotta believe me when I tell you to do something, because he did tell me, to not talk to this person any longer, because he did something and he's like, you don't need to talk to him. And had I listened, my car may have never been tampered with. Who knows? Anywho, But yeah, you see what happened the week of February 27th. And you see on the 22nd, they had paid for us to go to an amusement park. I took my mother and we drove in her vehicle, and I saw that coworker and his wife several times. Like, at first I was just like, why do I keep seeing him? I just was trying. I didn't really want to talk to him. Really, honestly, I was trying to dodge him. I was trying to avoid him at all costs. Um, and I was reluctant to talk to him. And I know now, looking back on it, hindsight 2020 always, that he was just basically keeping tabs. He was stalking me. He was reporting back to the higher ups. And on 25th, my anniversary, a little sermon was held for my whole training class. And so my supervisor looked right in my face and told my manager to hand out medals to the whole class. Later, that coworker who was snitching on me later asked to get into the field appraisers, a program for field appraisers. My managers told my manager to send the information over. Yeah, so basically they were rewarding him for snitching. But the joke's on him. Went into COVID, so they wouldn't send out field appraisers for a while. Haha. No, I'm just playing. I'm not, but don't ignore that. I'm sorry. That was not the Holy Spirit. That was me being petty. Because it's sad. All this is really sad of how people let the devil use them under the guise of racism and all this stuff. It's crazy how many people really fall for the trap of racism. It's a very sad time. So this was like before the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and I have to admit, like, when that Floyd situation, I can't think of his whole name right now. It hit different after going through this. Breonna Taylor hit different after going through this. Like, especially Breonna Taylor. I'm not saying the thing with Floyd is not terrible, but Breonna Taylor, I mean, there's no rhyme or excuse for that. And me being a Black woman and knowing and how I wasn't protected, it really just, I was very emotionally attached to that story, to Breonna Taylor. I still am. I still participate in justice in that on my end. But yeah, I got to see firsthand, for myself, that God doesn't condone racism. It was never his plan. I mean, for people who think that being racist is okay, and they try to use the Bible for justification for it, there isn't a justification. Why would God want to mistreat someone that he created? That's complete nonsense. And to anyone who believes that Black people are cursed or that they deserve mistreatment, you really need to examine your relationship with God, and if you're serving which God you're really serving. Yeah, so you get to see later on February 28th, 2020, what all happened, why I was concerned for my safety, and all that. I'm not going to read all that. If you want to know, if you want to read it, then you go right ahead. I don't feel like reading it. I lived it. Yeah. So then 3/12, I had a claim with Chevy, with a Chevy Cruze. I was suspicious that the coworker had told them what my mother car looked like, which she drove. I began to tell the member my mom drove the same vehicle in color, which I was lying. My mom did not have that vehicle in color. And my manager and a female that I told on looked at that coworker very angrily, like basically, oh, you lied. And also around this time, my manager's partner in crime, he was actually following me after I would clock out to see where I parked at. The Holy Spirit began to speak to me and say, hey, you need to park somewhere different every day. Because I told security, but security just didn't do anything. So, yep. So that's that. And I also want to say too, you know, I'm telling all of this to make a point, and it ties into coming clean. Because here's the thing. I'm just getting very emotional. Just thinking about how good God is and how He works. When I first started experiencing the racism, um, I wanted to tell right away. I'm telling. I learned my lesson from working at the other company. If I have issues, I'm telling right away. And God told me not to do it. And everyone, my support system was saying, you need to tell, you need to tell, you need to tell. I'm like, no. And even the therapist I went to at the time, who was a black woman, was like, you need to tell. And I'm like, God told me to hold on. I can't tell. And even when I had a conversation with my manager about him publicly, or being extremely vocal about my performance, but not being vocal about my performance to me, she's like, you need to have that conversation with an HR rep and your manager. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. The Holy Spirit told me no, and it's very important to listen to the Holy Spirit and have a relationship with God for yourself. Because God knows the beginning from the end. He knows the intention of every heart. And if I had had that conversation with HR, and you see how the HR rep treated me, it would have been me going through what I went through at church with that fellow. It would have been me against them. He wouldn't have had my back, like the pastor wasn't going to have mine. And the reason why God told me to wait is because I'm going to try my best to talk about this without exposing the individual, because I'm not sure if they work there or not. But I'm going to try to talk in circles. So the male manager, he was sleeping with pretty much anything that breathed and walked. But there were some minority women that he was messing with, and he was also one of them. He was treating even worse than me. And this person was getting fed up and was getting ready to tell. I didn't know it at the time, but I found out later. Anywho, she told me right around the time that I spoke that she was getting ready to speak. And the reason why God had me to speak at that particular time, it was to protect her. He was waiting on her to get the revelation, to get out, to realize that she deserved better. And so, since I did not sleep with him, since he didn't have control over me, and I wasn't easy access to him, he had me to tell. And she ended up getting away from him as well. But because I had told, and because he had a liking for me, it distracted him from doing anything to her. So I basically had to take the bullets for her to be set free. She even told me, you saved me, you saved my life. And I was just like, what? At the time I didn't get it, because I was angry with her. I was like, why didn't you corroborate my story? Why didn't you speak up or anything? But I realized God told me, he said if she would have spoke up, he would have killed her. He said, you see what he tried to do to you, and he didn't have leverage to you. He had leverage on her. He had control. There was something there. There was what do you call that? It was a stronghold on her because they slept together. Since I didn't participate, I'm not doing that. I'm not sleeping with a married man. Yeah, that's not my MO. That will never happen. Never has happened. Praise the Lord. I'm not judging nobody who does. But just know you're worth more than that. You know, because you're never going to be respected. He's never going to leave his wife for you, and if he does, do you really want someone that way? You're not going to be able to trust them. So, yeah. I was able to take the bullets for her, and God saved me by allowing this to happen right before lockdown, so he couldn't have access to me as well. And I just smile, and you can probably hear my voice cracking because it's so amazing how much he loves us, that if we just do what he says to do, he will protect us. Like the 3 Hebrew boys, they had the first test of diet. Like me, I had the first test of that church with that guy, and I passed it. And God told me I'm the only one who he gave that test to that actually passed it. And it just amazes me how good God is, because of what I went through at church. I was able to endure what I went through on this job. Like, looking back on it, I couldn't do it. I don't know if I could do it again. But through all things, God, through all things, sorry. What is it? What is that verse? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's true, because looking back on it, I don't know how I got through any of those situations. And I remember people telling me on both situations, like, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you're doing it. They're like, I don't know how you go to work every day. You know how hard it is to go to work every day, and you're fearing for your safety. You don't know what they're going to do. I even had someone reach out to me on Facebook, who was ex-military, asking me, naming my brother's names, and I didn't respond. Like, that's scary. That's why on my personal Facebook, I took off my first name. I go by a nickname, and I took my picture off. I didn't post my picture for like a whole year, like 2 years actually. Yeah. So anyone who was friends on me on my personal Facebook or wonder why I changed, that's the reason why I did that. But yeah, even now, speaking out on it, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm risking my life. I don't know who this is for. I don't know I can't see the whole vision of why God is having me talk about this and put this on my platform, but all I can say is y'all continue to pray for me and my family for safety, because yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be happy about this, but I don't care. I follow the Lord no matter what. And I do want to say this, because I touched it on Facebook post. I did delete it. Not that I was wrong, but I just don't like to dwell on negativity. But it's sad, and it's very concerning, and it's very discouraging that I was able to endure something on my job because of what I went through at church. I should have never went through that at church. And what I talked about the people and how they treat me at church was just at the very tip of the iceberg. I touched about, me, people like pastors, people who I never met, men I have never met, feel to need to discredit my calling and my ministry. And I never said anything about a church. They try to tell people not to listen to me, that I'm of the devil, and that I'm a false prophet. I never claimed to be a prophet, and all this stuff. And one of them, because I literally, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I mean, if I'm telling all my business, I don't see why I would lie about this. Um, I was just looking for a church home. I was looking for a place, um, to hear the word of God and hear the truth. And I thought I had found it in both of these ministries online. And at first, um, he just, every Sunday update, it was a dig at me. Like Sunday law update, it was a dig at me. And I'm just like, dude, are you, like, what's going on? Like, and the problem that I have is that no one finds that alarming, that a man who is old enough to be my daddy, who I've never met a day in my life, I'm not a former member of yours. I'm not a former student. I never went to that university that you teach at. How do you even know who I am? And why do you feel the need to watch me constantly and report about me? And why are you trying to discredit me? And then one Sunday a law update, he quoted something that I wrote on a post. Like, he actually used it. And it's like, so which is it? Should you not listen to me? Am I not valid? Or is it that you're afraid that what I'm going to say later on, that something's going to come out about you, and you're trying to get ahead of it by trying to have people put that doubt in people's head about me? Because as I said in the post, I have never told anyone, I never spoke on anything that was contrary to the Bible. I'm not telling nobody to walk away from church. I bowed out gracefully, and this is the things I get. And then y'all wonder why I say I'm not anything. When I say I'm not anything, I'm still a Christian. I still believe in the doctrine of Seventh-day Adventists. I don't want to represent Seventh-day Adventists because I don't feel like answering for them, because it's too much that they do that I don't agree with. The doctrine, fine, but the leadership and what they do and what they allow to happen in the house of God, I cannot get behind. And I'm not going to sit up here and represent and defend anybody. The only person I'm going to represent and defend is Jesus. That's it. That's why I said I'm not claiming anything. But y'all took that and y'all ran with it and turned into something ugly and disgusting. The other individual, I gave you kudos. I was telling people to watch you, and the next thing I know, you telling people don't listen to me. And I'm like, what? I didn't come at you anyway. I was giving you kudos, but never mind. I'm scared to tell anybody. I'm scared to give anybody kudos because apparently it's a bad thing. But I said in my post, usually when people or men act like this, it's because they got something to hide. So I think it's in both of your best interests if you just apologize. You either admit that you are a follower, or you just keep my name out your mouth. Keep my name and my ministry out your mouth. Because God has also given me a sermon that was created in 2013. And it was me speaking out about the corruption in the church. And I remember when he gave that to me, I begged and pleaded with him. No, God, don't do people like this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't think it's right. I prayed for y'all, and a lot of y'all who I prayed for, y'all end up just throwing me under the bus. So I'm saying all this to say this. If I'm willing to put USA on blast, and they have done everything to me, they have threatened my safety and my family's safety, what makes you think I'm scared of a preacher in Alabama? That I won't say anything, that I was going to keep quiet. I know that y'all are used to, and you heard about me through the grapevine, that I'm too nice and that I don't speak up and I don't defend myself, but that's no longer that person. Going through this experience, God taught me how to be patient, how to be loving, how to be kind, that even through the midst of everything, I still need to reflect the character of God. But he also told me to stop being too nice about stuff. And that's what I'm doing. So I am going to preach that sermon God originally gave to me in 2013. I'm not going to say when or where, but all I'm going to say is get your house in order. That's all I'm gonna say. And it's funny because the Alabama preacher said, when he was sitting here talking trash about me, making accusations that he know nothing about, making assumptions about what he sees. He said, some of these people coming back to church. He said, let me just get ready. I got to get myself, make sure I'm gonna pray and fast and get myself together. So that means you got something to hide. You're scared that I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna expose you. That's what you're scared about. And it's not me exposing you. Y'all still think it's me, and I walk around with a magnifying glass I don't try to find nothing. What happens is y'all act all crazy and you expose yourselves. Because it's very, like I said, y'all old enough to be my daddy. Why are you watching me so attentively? That's all I'm going to say. So, as always, like, comment, subscribe, share. My contact information is always in the description box. And, yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.